everybody, it's Jamie from Old Shipping Lines and welcome back to a new series. Now this series is called War Heroes in White, where I will be talking about hospital ships from both World War I and World War II and of course other hospital ships. Now we all of course know the HMS Britanic. I think she's one of the most popular hospital ships out there. But there are so many others whose stories we just don't know. So with the hospital ship of today, we'll be talking about the SS Maheno. So let's dive into her story. Now the SS Maheno was built by the William Denny and Brothers Limited, a Scottish shipbuilder located in Dumbarton. Maheno was launched on June the 19th, 1905 and would be completed in late October 1905. Maheno measured 123.3 meters in length, 15.2 meters wide and had a draft of 9.4 meters. She displaced 5.323 gross registered tons and would be fitted with 3 steam turbine engine gears, 2 free shafts and could produce a speed of 16 knots. Now the Maheno entered service for the Union Steamship Co., a New Zealand based company. The ship ran services across New Zealand and Eastern Australia and would occasionally make voyages to Canada as well. Now, things would go well for the ship until the start of the World War I. When the war began, she was ordered to be converted into a hospital transport ship and would be refitted with 8 wards and 2 operating theatres, with a medical team of 5 doctors, 61 attendants, from the Army Medical Corps. A matron, which in British English means a woman in charge of domestic and medical arrangements, at a boarding school or other institution, and a further 13 nurses from the newly formed New Zealand Army Nursing Service. The ship was repainted in white colours, with large green stripes along the length of the ship, on both sides, and painted with large red crosses on the side of her funnels, all according to the Hague Convention of 1899. Now, the hospital ships in general, would be given strict laws as to be considered hospital ships in accordance to the Hague Convention of 1907. With 4 main laws for hospital transports. Now let's first begin with the first one. Firstly, the ship shall give medical assistance to either sides of the war. Secondly, the ship must not be used for any military purpose, but a hospital transport. Thirdly, the ships must not interfere nor engage with combat vessels. And lastly, a person recognized by international law can search any hospital ship to investigate. Now, violations to the previously mentioned laws, if a ship appears to have violated any one of these laws, they will immediately be considered an attacker and can be sunk even if wounded are still on board. Now enough with the Hague Conventions. The Maheno arrived at Mudros, a naval base of the Gallipoli campaign, on the 25th of August 1915 and would take on casualties from the ongoing Battle of Hill 90. Maheno would sail back to New Zealand on New Year's Day of 1916 to receive a refit and eventually returning to Egypt a month later to collect patients and transporting them back to New Zealand. After the start of the Battle of Somme, Maheno would serve in the English Channel, returning terrifying numbers of wounded or sick troops from the Western Front, all up till October 1916. She would return to New Zealand in December 1916, making a further 6 more round trips between New Zealand, trips of which were to bring back the wounded or to receive a refit. Once the war was over, the ship was handed back to her owners and returned to commercial service. And during the war, the ship would have transported a near 14,360 wounded and sick soldiers across the Pacific and Atlantic. The Maheno would bring joy after the war, transporting civilians for the first time in clear waters, but it would all come crashing down. With the Great Depression on the rise, the Union Steamship Co. had to retire some of their older ships to make their latest ones serviceable. Maheno would be pulled from service in 1931 and laid up. In 1935, the ship was sold off for scrap after 4 years of being idle, and was to be towed to the Japanese scrappers. In June, the voyage began to the scrappers, but on the afternoon of July the 7th, the tow line had snapped due to a cyclone, and attempts to reattach the line failed in the raging seas. And soon, the Maheno disappeared. The tug towing the ship, the Ona, sent out signals for assistance to recover the ship, with a skeleton crew of 8 on board, and was eventually found on July the 10th by an aircraft. And the crew had to set up camp awaiting for the Ona and her crew to arrive. When the time came to investigate the wreckage, it was deemed too expensive to refloat the ship, as it would have cost more than that of the scrap. So the ship was left to the beach. Now, despite the grounded ship, she was used in the Second World War as target practice for aircraft. And despite the bombs dropped onto the ship, she stayed in relatively good shape, except for a large crack in the center of the hull. Now, over the years, the ship was a popular tourist spot and even fishing spot. Weddings were done on the tilted ship. You can still visit the wreckage today, but what's left of her is mostly buried in the sand, and her superstructure collapsed from the bombings, and heavy corrosion from the waves. She still remains a popular tourist spot to this day. So that is the end of a video, and that's also the end of the first episode of War Heroes in White. Did you like it? I certainly loved making this video. The Maheno has a kind of sad ending, right? I mean, for such a long liner, she had a case of bad luck, should we say, in my opinion. Again, I hope you enjoyed this video. The reason why I made this series is like how I said it in the beginning. We all know the HMHS Britanic, right? But there are so many hospital ships that we don't know of and whose stories deserve to be told. So that's why I made this video. And of course I try to honor the hospital ships and the service that they did. So again, I hope you liked it. I quickly want to say thank you for all the new subscribers who have subscribed. Sorry. Like I always say in every video, it means a lot that so many of you guys like my content. Now, if you have any thoughts about these hospital ships or comments, please leave them in the comment section down below. I love reading them and I reply to each and every one of them. So yes. And also leave in the comments what hospital ship you want to see next. That would also help a lot. So if you have ocean liners, or if you have friends who like ocean liners or ships, please show them my channel. We are now trying to reach the 700 subscribers, my friends, and I know we can do that together. So with that out of the way, my friends, I wish you a good night or day wherever you are, and we will see each other on the next video. Goodbye.